Hey, what's up y'all? I'm Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing y'all how to make my homemade cream style corn with D&D smoked sausage in it over parboiled rice and a fried pork chop on the side. Now, I can't speak for all the other regions that may actually serve this particular dish, but I can speak for myself and say that I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, and this dish right here, a staple in New Orleans cooking right here. My people used to make it all the time. I mean, it's easy, it's affordable, and it can also serve quite a few people as well. It's basically a stretch meal. Now for this recipe, the only difference is that instead of using the regular can of cream style corn, I'm using the corn, fresh corn, straight off the cob. This recipe, like I said, it serves quite a few people. It's can serve about 8 to 10 people. Absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all what you'll need to make your cream style corn and rice with fried pork chops. Let's get started with our ingredients. You'll need 8 cobs of corn, and this is how it looks here. And along with that, you're going to need some cornstarch, sugar, salted butter, all-purpose flour, any type of long grain rice. I'm going to be using jasmine rice. 2 pounds of center cut pork loin chops, 1 to 2 pounds of D&D smoked sausage, large eggs at room temperature, canola oil, and for our seasonings, you will need some salt, pepper, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. You can also use Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Slapping Mama Cajun seasoning, Chef Paul Prudhomme's poultry and vegetable magic. I have the link to where you can purchase these seasonings in the description box. If you don't have these Chef Paul Prudhomme's seasonings, you can just simply omit them from the recipe. You will also need some onion powder, garlic powder, Zatarain's crab ball, some dried thyme, and for your additional seasonings, you will need 1 yellow onion and some garlic. And for your tools, you will need a 10-inch round cast iron skillet. You will also need an 11 by 17-inch baking pan with a cooling rack. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. So we're going to get started by chopping up 1 yellow onion. Alright, here I have 3 cloves of garlic. I cut them in half. And we're going to chop this up until it is minced. Alright, here we have a cob of corn here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove the leaves off. Just going to pull those off. Just twist. Pull that off. And there you go. Simple. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and rinse off our cobs with cold water. Alright, I'm going to just take my knife and I'm going to just trim off. See that I'm looking at the kernels right here. So I'm just using this as a guideline. So I'm going to just take my knife and I'm just trim this off. Do it at a slant. And you can also tell when the kernels start right here. So use that as a guideline. And this is how it looks when we're done. As you can see, we have our corn kernels in this Tupperware, and we have our cobs in this Tupperware. Now we're going to cut our D&D smoked sausage. I'm cutting up about 1 pound, but you can increase it to 2 if you want to serve more people. Now we're going to add our pork chops into this strainer here. And we're going to rinse the pork chops off with cold water. Now I like to do this step to rinse off any blood or particles that might be on the pork chops. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take some napkins and I'm just going to pat the pork chops dry. Just pat each individual one dry first. Alright, we transferred our pork chops onto this 11 by 17-inch baking pan. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of seasoning. We're going to sprinkle a little bit of salt. Just light. We're going to sprinkle some black pepper. A little tiny bit. don't have to get on top of the pork chop all the way. Some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Some Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic. Some onion powder. Some garlic powder. And a little tiny bit of Zatarain's crab ball. Ain't gotta be too much, just a little drop. Now we're gonna flip the pork chops over. Same procedure for the opposite side. Lightly sprinkle some salt, some black pepper, some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. Now remember, you could adjust the seasonings as needed. You don't have to use all the seasoning. Some Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic. Some onion powder. Some garlic powder. And a little sprinkle of Zatarain's crab ball. Just a little bit. Now we're going to place the pork chops in this medium-sized bowl here. I'm going to cover this. And I'm going to let this marinate for about 3 to 4 hours, or you could let it marinate overnight. Alright, here we have 3 large eggs at room temperature. And to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of the Zatarain's crab ball. Now if you don't have the crab ball, you can add 1 teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. And if you don't have that, you can add a little bit of salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder in there. Alright, if you want to. Now I'm going to just take my whisk and just give this a quick stir. Alright, now let's get started with our all-purpose flour batter. So in this Tupperware, we're going to add 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 1 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of Zatarain's crab ball, and 1 tablespoon of dried thyme. And I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a quick stir. And as you can see the seasonings in that. Yes, yes, yes. Gotta season everything. Make sure everything is nice and well seasoned. Oh yeah. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. Alright, so in this large pot I have 7 cups of water. Now we're going to add a little bit of seasoning. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. To that we're going to add about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of the Chef Paul Prudhomme's Vegetable Magic. Now we just want to add a little bit of seasoning at this time. Alright, so we're just going to give this a quick stir. And we're going to let this come to a simmer. Alright, our water is at a simmer now. Now we're going to go ahead and add our cob pieces. Now the same thing that we do, like if we're making a broth or a stock with meat or bones, same thing here with vegetables. Give that a little stir. Now I'm going to cover this. And I'm going to just let this simmer. I'll let y'all know the cooking time once I'm done. Alright. Now our corn stock mixture should be done. Smells good. I'll let this mixture simmer for about 30 minutes. Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off. Now we're going to remove the corn cobs from out the liquid. Now we're just going to cover this and we're going to set this on the side. Preheat your fire to medium-high heat. So in this large saucepan, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of salted butter. Just spread that around. And I'm going to let that melt. Alright, now let's add some seasoning. We're going to add 1 cup of our chopped yellow onion. And to that, we're going to add about 1 tablespoon of our chopped garlic. We're just going to give this a quick stir. just let this saute for a few minutes. Alright, so I let this saute for about 6 minutes.
Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off.
Now that we turned our fire off, now we're going to go ahead and just set this on the side. Alright, so in this measuring cup I have 1 1/2 cups of cold water. And to that we're going to add a 1/2 cup of cornstarch. I'm going to just take my whisk and I'm just going to stir this until combined.
Preheat your fire to medium-high heat.
Alright, here we have our cornstarch mixture, and we just returned it back on the fire. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add our cornstarch mixture. Just pour that right in there. Now we're going to add our sauteed onion and garlic. And followed by the rest of our seasonings. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's vegetable magic, and a 1/2 cup of sugar. Now we're just going to give this a quick stir. Now you always want to taste your mixture to see if it's at your desired taste. If not, you can add more seasonings. Now we're going to let this mixture simmer until it thickens slightly. Alright, we've let our mixture simmer for about 5 minutes, and ooh, it smells good. So now we're going to add our corn kernels in here. Alright, now we're going to add our smoked sausage. Now normally I would sear my smoked sausage, but not today. I don't feel like doing that today. I'm going to just give that a quick stir. Now, since the corn that we've added and the smoked sausage that we've added has brought down the temperature of this, now what we have to do is we have to bring this back up to temperature. That means that this will have to come back to a simmer, alright, which is going to take a couple of minutes. And once it comes to a simmer, then you let it simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now at this time, if you want to add any additional seasonings, if you want to add a little bit more sugar, then you can do so at this time, okay? But the cornstarch we added in here was just about enough. Once everything comes to a simmer, it'll thicken. So, alright, it's been about 3 to 5 minutes now, and let's go ahead and check on our corn mixture. And it is done. As you can see, that's nice and thick. Exactly what we're looking for.
Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off.
Alright, now for the final step, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of salted butter. You're just going to let that sit in there and let it melt. Alright, now that our butter has melted, let's go ahead and give this a quick stir. Now for some quick tips. Your mixture should be thick. But even if it's not thick, don't panic. Next time, only thing you do is you just add a little bit more cornstarch, alright? Regardless of whether or not if it's thick or thin, it's gonna taste wonderful, alright? Your corn kernels, you don't want to cook this beyond 3 to 5 minutes, because if you overcook them, what's gonna happen is that it's gonna be a little tough, and the outside shell of the kernel will be kind of firm, so you don't want that. So 3 to 5 minutes cooking time for the kernels. But other than that, that is it, ladies and gentlemen.
Preheat your fire to medium-high heat.
Alright, here I have 2 quarts of water into this medium-sized pot. Now we're going to let this come to a simmer. Alright, our water's at a simmer now. We're going to add 2 cups of rice. Just going to give this a quick stir. And we're going to let this simmer for about 7 to 8 minutes. Alright, it's been about 7 to 8 minutes now, and our rice should be done. You always want to take a spoon and give a taste test to your rice and see if it's at your desired taste.
Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off.
Alright, now we're going to add our rice into this mesh strainer. in there. Now we're going to go ahead and rinse our rice off with cold water. Alright, now we've placed our strainer back on top of our pot. Now we're going to place a lid on top. And we're going to let the rice set for about 30 minutes. This will allow the rice to absorb all of the rest of the water. Okay? And from there, it'll be ready to be served. And there y'all have it, ladies and gentlemen. Parboiled rice. As you can see, it doesn't stick together or anything. Give it a try. You might like it. Alright, here we have our pork chops. We just got through marinating them. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let these sit out for about 30 minutes to an hour. So that way they can warm up just a little bit. So that way they can come to room temperature.
Preheat your fire to medium-high heat.
Alright, so in our cast iron skillet, we're going to add 3.5 cups of vegetable or canola oil. Now we're going to let the oil get hot for about 10 to 12 minutes. Now you want to keep in mind that heating times for the oil could take more or less time depending on your skillet and your stove. Alright, so you want to keep all of that in mind. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pork chop and add it into our egg mixture. We're just going to coat the pork chop with the egg mixture. Just shake it a little bit as you want a thin coating, and from there you're going to take it and you're going to add it into the seasoned all-purpose flour batter. Now I'm going to go ahead and cover this. I'm going to just shake the Tupperware to coat the pork chop with the seasoned all-purpose flour batter. Alright, looks good. Got a nice little coating, give it a little shake, and from there we're going to take it and add it into the hot oil. Now frying times vary depending on the size pork chop you have, your skillet, the temperature of your oil, and your stove. You're going to let the pork chops fry for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. So that's about 6 to 10 minutes total of frying the pork chops. Alright, it's been about 6 to 10 minutes total cooking time for our fried pork chop. Now look at how beautiful and golden brown that is. Now you're going to go ahead and wait a couple seconds just to let some of that grease drain off of the pork chop. Then from there you're going to place it onto your cooling rack.
Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off.
Now we're going to let these pork chops cool for about 5 minutes before serving. And there y'all have it, ladies and gentlemen. Cream style corn and rice with fried pork chop, made by a New Orleans native. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. This looks so good, I don't know where to start. Start with the corn and rice. Now for the fried pork chop. Man, this is it was so good. Man, that cream style corn, it's nice, well seasoned, flavorful, and that with the D&D Smoked sausage in it. Now some people might ask, does it taste like the can, or does it taste better? Now the thing is about like a lot of the processed foods, they normally use formulas, so that way it don't matter how much you try to make it from scratch, it's not gonna taste nowhere near as good. But this right here, I can honestly say, it tastes better than the can to me. The pork chop has a nice little light crunch on the outside, juicy, well seasoned. I mean, y'all, I tell y'all, this is a staple in New Orleans kitchen. It's absolutely delicious. So give the recipe a try. Hey y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this fabulous cream style corn and rice with seasoned pork chops recipe, you can go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook and on Instagram under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. So until next time, take care, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.